Lovely. So, hello everyone. Welcome back to Myelin. This is my channel, which obviously shows awareness and gives a lot of awareness for MS and the MS community. Today, I've got somebody special with me. I've got Lisa Mundy with me today. And Lisa is doing a petition, which is something very close to my heart as well. It's for SPMS, but we'll get into that in a minute. So, thank you for joining me, Lisa. Could you just tell me just quickly about basically your condition at the moment and what you're dealing with at the moment?
So I was originally diagnosed RRMS back in 2014 and then was upgraded to SPMS when I was 37, so 2020. And ever since then, it's just been very much a downward slope. So I was running around. I used to walk the dogs 3 miles a day. You know, you'd never know there was anything wrong with me. And then it's been quite a dramatic, quite a rapid decline. I'm in a wheelchair 90% of the time. I can shuffle around using a walker at home in bare feet. I can't do it with shoes on because I have hard floors, so that's okay. But, you know, I have spasticity, which is quite severe, and clonus, which is extremely annoying. You know, your normal continence problems. I don't sleep very well, all that kind of stuff. And you know, I can't rely on the neurology team because that nothing seems to ever happen. So I thought something needed to change. Something needs to change.
Okay, excellent. That's pretty well. Go back a little bit, we'll just see what were the first sort of symptoms that you noticed from a MS point of view.
So prior to my diagnosis, I had numbness down one side of my body, which the GP told me was probably going to be shingles, which it wasn't. I never got shingles. And then I had so the electric shock sensations down my left leg, which turned out to be limits as we know it. So that went on that was starting in the October, and then in the November I got optic neuritis and I actually went blind in one eye, but thankfully that came back, but that led to my diagnosis. And that was actually, I was very, very lucky, and that diagnosis came very quickly because I went to the opticians actually, and they sent me to the hospital to eye casualty, as they call it. And then I ended up with about 15 people in this tiny room while I was trying to read things on the wall. And they all found it very, very interesting. Lots of students, you know, they like to bring students in when they find something.
Yeah, that's the same thing happened with me as well. I can remember that.
So you're all just standing there staring at you. You think, oh, I can't tell you. I don't know the answer because I can't.
Yeah, I know the feeling. So, did you know what MS was before you kind of got your optic neuritis? Have you ever heard of it or anything like that?
Yes, I had a friend from school actually who had been diagnosed at the age of 21, and she had MS. But she was very much the same as what I was at the beginning of my journey. You'd never know there was anything wrong with her. Her symptoms were all invisible. So, you know, we all knew that she had MS. Everybody from school, you know, all of our friend group, we all knew she had MS, but it didn't seem to affect her as much as obviously what it does now and what it does you and I.
Yeah. So I know this probably might be a silly question, but I know a lot of people might want to know the answer to this one. But how did you feel when you finally got that diagnosis? What went through your mind?
It was a bit of a strange one, actually. I suppose there was probably a bit of denial there, actually, because I thought, well, you know, I'm not in a wheelchair. You have these preconceived ideas about people with MS. It always seems like it's a much more terrible diagnosis than what it actually turned out to be for me in the first place. Because 8 weeks after my diagnosis, my vision had come back, and then going on from there, I felt fine. I started taking Copaxone, injections daily, and that seemed to keep me on a level. So, you know, at the time, I wasn't particularly scared or worried. My husband, on the other hand, was quite concerned. Bless him. Yeah. We'd only been married 6 weeks.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah, I did feel for him a little bit.
That's unbelievable. I can remember when I got my first diagnosis, it's kind of a relief as well, because, you know, you got all these weird and wonderful symptoms, and then you get something which you're like, that's what it is. So
yeah. For a lot of people, I know that's how it goes. You know, some people wait years for a diagnosis, which is terrible. And it must be really quite scary to have all this stuff going on in your body and not know what it is, and then finally to get that diagnosis. I understand that must be a real relief.
Yeah. It took me 10 years, but that's a completely different story. A completely different story, that. So, so you relapse and remitting MS, which most of us start there. I know some people obviously go straight to secondary progressive and primary progressive, but what symptoms did you get? So you're thinking something's not right here, and then the progression. So tell us about the progression.
So when I was diagnosed and then upgraded, which is how I like to call it, I was actually living in Reading, so I was under the Royal Berkshire NHS Trust, and the neurologist there was my neurologist from the beginning, and he was actually really quite good. He's retired now, unfortunately, but when I used to see him on an annual basis, he used to make me do the walk-in, so the timed walk-in, I don't know how many meters it is, or and that gradually got slower and slower and slower. But I stopped having relapses probably about 4 or 5 years after my diagnosis.
Okay.
I only ever had 3. That first one was optic neuritis. Then I had vertigo. And then I had, I suppose it was a pseudo flare really of the optic neuritis, which I think was actually a stress induced flare rather than an actual relapse as such. And from there, he expressed his concern that it was, you know, becoming secondary progressive or becoming progressive in itself. So we then talked about changing over, because I'd stopped the Copaxone before. I gave myself a little bit of a scare with it and managed to jab myself in a vein, which is entirely user error rather than anything else. So we talked about changing or moving on to a stronger DMT. So they put me onto Ocrevus, which I didn't like, and I wish I'd never done it, if I'm perfectly honest, but that's an entirely different story. And then it was quite rapid from there. I noticed, you know, I wasn't able to sit up from a laying down position. So getting out of bed, or, you know, if I was slouched on the sofa, I'd have to get somebody to pull me forwards or pull me up, and stuff like that. And then my walking got gradually progressively worse. I already had drop foot anyway, but that has got quite to a severe point where my ankles are completely pronated now. So I have to have special shoes with calipers. So I like to be called Forrest Gump now, if that's all right with everybody else. So it was just one thing after another, and that all happened within about 3 years. And then I bought my wheelchair when I was 40. Happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday, happy 40th. Yeah, I know. I know when I got my wheelchair, it felt like a bit of a relief, really, because my walking was so bad. The wheelchair was a little bit of a godsend.
Yeah, no, I know what I find myself, I'm a little bit of a hermit. If I don't use my chair, I tend to stay in the house.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't feel safe outside. I will trip and fall. I know I will. So it's kind of I'm glad I've got the chair, because otherwise I'd never go out. I'd never go anywhere.
Yeah, that's exactly where I am at the moment. Like, MS affects my left hand quite a lot. It's a bit of a clawed left hand, so I can't really use a manual one. So I use the power chair now, which gets me about, which is a lot easier, really. But
Yeah.
I use a manual in the house. But, so we'll get to you've got SPMS, so we'll get to the nitty gritty now. This is the bit why you're really here, isn't it? You know. So go for when you got your diagnosis. What kind of care and support have you received since then?
From diagnosis?
No, from your SPMS diagnosis.
Oh, right. Okay. So I was diagnosed SPMS 2020, and we already had plans in the making for moving down to Wiltshire. We wanted to move to the West Country. Mm-hmm. It's a slower pace of life. It's, you know, a much more relaxed place to live, whereas Reading is very much a city now. It's extremely fast paced and everything's going on, and there's a lot of crime as well, which is not very nice. But, you know, that's by the by. So in 2022, we moved down to Wiltshire. So I moved from the Royal Berkshire NHS Trust to Wiltshire NHS Trust. And I thought, okay, great. This is like a fresh start. I'll get a fresh neurologist, fresh MS nurse team, everything. Only it wasn't quite as revelationary as I thought it would be. So the neurologist that I was assigned to was quite old school, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Very traditional. He said to me, you know, I was already taking baclofen. I take 4 lots of baclofen a day. So he added in Dantrium, which is another muscle relaxant, which does help at night time. But he said, your only other option is to have a baclofen pump fitted. And I was like, but there's options in between there. So it was quite disjointed between what I knew was available and what he made available to me. So I asked, could I have physiotherapy? No, you can't have that. That's not something that we give to MS patients. So I said, but why? I said, stroke victims get given physiotherapy, or even, you know, full on rehab. Yeah, but stroke victims are likely to get better. So I was like, thanks very much. Full of joy. So he said, no, you know, I've given you your options. You have the MS nurse team if you need to ring them for anything. And you can self-refer to continence services if you need them. And I said, okay, so that's it then. He said, yeah, that's it. I said, well, that's not really enough, is it? Yeah. He said, well, if you don't like it, he said, I won't bother to see you anymore. And he actually struck me off his books.
Wow.
Which is, it's funny now. At the time, not so much.
I can imagine leaving like that surgery and thinking, what do I do now? I'm on my own. Yeah. But
I was naive enough to think that having struck me from his books, that he would do a tertiary referral and somebody else would pick me up. But that's not the case. That's not what happened. I was just completely left to, you know, to float around on my own and do nothing. So it wasn't until 18 months later that I then thought, surely I should have seen somebody by now if that referral had been done. So I called the MS nurse team and asked them, and they said, oh, no, you haven't been referred to anybody. If you want referring to somebody else, we'll have to do that through your GP, which we all know how joyful that is. So, I had to start from the beginning. I joined my local MS therapy centre. So I can pay for physio, I can pay for massage, I can pay for reflexology, I can pay for all of that. But there's only so much money that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Disability is expensive enough, isn't it? Even without the bits on the top, which you could get, a referral from a neurologist. So you're basically left on your own for 18 months then with SPMS. You know, if you look at that, that's shocking, isn't it?
It is shocking.
That is really bad.
Yeah, so it was pretty scary to think that, you know, I did feel like a sort of a lost ship at sea. Kind of, you know, nobody knew I was there. Nobody was interested to know that I was there. So, I mean, luckily I'm quite a strong-willed person, but you know, for some people that could have been absolutely terrifying and would have been, you know, would have had a real effect on their mental health as well. Yeah, to think that nobody's looking after them or nobody's looking out for them at all.
Yeah, Yeah, because I find the process of having SPMS is lonely enough as it is. Just getting an appointment every 6 months or every 12 months, but just be struck off and left alone.
Yeah.
Just because you've asked for a little bit more than they're offering, that's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm shocked by that. I am really shocked for that. So you might not know the answer to this one, but what do you think is missing for most people with progressive MS from the NHS?
I think that progressive MS is forgotten about right from the off. So when it comes to research, there are umpteen drugs available. There are 20 licensed drugs for the treatment of MS, RRMS. When you get into the progressive forms, that goes down to 2. And research is just constantly looking for new treatments to treat you from the beginning, from your relapse and remitting stage.
Yeah.
Once you get into the secondary progressive or primary progressive, they're like, well, and it's almost as if they've written you off, so they don't really bother.
Yeah.
There's just nothing in the pipeline even. So, I was enrolled on the Octopus trial, but again, there wasn't anything really suitable because I was progressive. So, I could have gone on there and tried, one of the other drugs that are available, Mavenclad, or, there's loads on there. But at the end of the day, only Ocrevus and I think it's Mavenclad, or is it Saponimod that is...
Saponimod, you've got to have an active secondary progressive.
Which I'm not. I'm
same. Likewise, exactly
I'm
the same.
secondary progressive. I have no relapses, and I haven't done for years now.
I know, and I find I'll have an MRI scan, and they'll send me a letter making it out, and it's brilliant because I've got no change. It's a double-edged sword, isn't it? I've done a couple of videos about it, and I find that it's like they're like, oh yeah, it's brilliant news. You completely like there's no change, and you're like, well, yeah, but that's not really a good thing because I'm still getting worse. So it's never explained to you, is it?
No, they do. They tend to rely solely on lesion count.
Yeah.
Oh, you haven't got any new lesions, so you must be all right. Yeah. But that's not the reality, and there's an awful lot of chatter in the background about progression without relapse activity, smouldering MS, all that kind of stuff. But none of that ever gets mentioned in clinic.
No.
So, I know exactly what you mean. It is a case of, oh, well, you haven't got any new lesions, so you must be all right. And then they just forget all about you again for another 12 months or however long. I haven't had an MRI for about 3 years now. So
wow, that's shocking.
Nobody wants to look in my brain.
No, like I've only got 3 lesions. I've got 2 on my brain and 1 right at the top of my spine, and the one at the top of my spine is causing all this hassle. And it's minute as well. They've shown me on an MRI, it's minute, and I'm like, well, that's stopping me walking. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of like, I might only have 3. I can have 303, but that's the one. It's like, no, doing me, if you like, So, I went to go on a trial. So it brings us into the sort of petition this as well. I went on a trial for tolinimab, something like that it's called. Okay. But I couldn't get in the hospital. I don't know if it sounds silly, right? They wanted me to have this infusion every 4 weeks, right? So they did all the blood tests to see if I was suitable. And they're like, yeah, you're suitable. But the hospital, the parking is horrendous, right? So I can't take my wheelchair in there. And when I did get in there, all the doors are sort of pull doors towards you. So I'm in an electric wheelchair with one hand.
And I bet they weigh a ton as well, those doors, don't they?
I couldn't even get through the door. So they're like, do you want to go on a trial? I was like, do you know what? It's not worth the hassle for me. I'd love to, but yeah, when I managed to park, I got a step. And you're like, I'm in a wheelchair. Joy. No, so I was like, thanks, but no thanks. So even there might have been something I could have done. I can't do it because the facilities are not there.
Yeah, so, physical boundaries, which that's ridiculous for a hospital.
Yeah, definitely. So we'll get on to the petition now, because this is the crux of it, isn't it? This is the reason why you're here.
Is what we're doing.
Yeah. So, go on, tell me, what was the final straw for you to say, I've had enough of this and I'm going to start a petition?
Do you know what? It's been an accumulation of things over time. So what with, being struck off from my neurologist, or sacked, as I like to call it. And then I called my MS nurse and I asked her if I could have occupational health come out, because we've moved into a bungalow. So obviously it's a lot more suitable for me than a house, because that was just not going to work, was never going to work. But I wanted to make sure that I had everything that, they thought I would need, that I'd be safe. She said, "Oh, well, we don't really do that." Right. Okay. I said, "Did we ever get anywhere with the neurophysio that I asked for?" Oh, yeah, I forgot we asked for that. And this is like a year later. And I just thought to myself, this is utterly ridiculous. That's all I've got left is this MS nurse team, and they are doing absolutely nothing for me. And all I keep doing is asking for things over and over again, and I get nowhere. So I thought, somebody's got to sit up and take notice. There's 150,000 people in the UK with MS. Mm-hmm. Around 50,000 of those are progressive, either secondary or primary, whether it's active or non-active. But those 50,000 people, and 50,000 people is a lot of people, that just getting ignored and brushed under the carpet. And I thought, I think last week I got a bit of a bee in my bonnet about it, and I thought, I've got to do something. So I emailed my MP, and then I thought, I'm going to do a petition, but I need to just get it rolling a little bit, so that we can get enough signatures to get it in front of Parliament.
Yeah, definitely, and it needs to be, and it's an amazing thing you're doing. It really is. So, what exactly are you asking the NHS and the government to do from your point of view?
Okay, so the petition itself is just to urge the NHS just to take notice of us, to offer us the same services that are offered to everybody else. I don't understand why they think it's fair that because we are progressive, that we don't get the same opportunity for treatment as the people that are relapsing, remitting, or any other kind of condition. There are a lot of conditions, neurological conditions, and they all have treatment available. And it seems that we are the only ones that just sort of get left by the wayside. And I don't think it's fair.
Mm-hmm. No, I totally agree. It's an amazing thing you're doing as well. What needs to be done is, it's one of the first things I've actually seen people fighting for somebody with secondary progressive, which is testament to you, and it's just absolutely brilliant. Hopefully getting it out there on, like YouTube and stuff like this, will just give you that little boost you need, and hopefully we can get as many signatures as we can.
Well, I'm sharing it. It's on Facebook every day, Instagram, TikTok. There's every account that I can possibly open and put it on, I've done. And then, my family are all sharing and my friends are sharing. But the algorithms make it difficult, because people that don't see you on a regular basis are never going to see it. So I'm just trying to get it so that it gets onto everybody's feed at some point, really.
Well, that's right. And it takes what? 2 seconds to sign a petition. I've done it. You just click on the link and it's done, isn't it? So it's not even a hard thing. It doesn't cost anything.
No.
It's just kind of, you just click it. Thank you very much. You're going to do the rest from this. So it's not as if anybody's got to do anything. You just basically got to add your name. Your details don't go any further than that. You're not going to go into the world, of the internet and things. So
no, it's all good. You can sign it anonymously as well. If you don't want to have your name on it, it can be anonymous. So you can remain completely private, and nobody will even know that you've done it. Yeah,
absolutely. It's perfect, isn't it? So, what is your ultimate change then? If you could pick one thing to change about the SPMS thing, and the government and the NHS are listening to you now, what would be the one thing which you change?
I want the NHS to offer us the same as what they offer relapsing, remitting. So I was one of those people. So I can't, I'm not trying to segregate people at different levels. But at the relapsing remitting stage, you are given physiotherapy, and I firmly believe that regular physio will help people like us stay on our feet for longer. There seems to be this discord between keeping us on our feet will cost the NHS less money in the long run.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to see it that way. They just think, oh no, we'll just forget about those people, and then they won't be here. There won't be a problem. But leaving us to just, for want of a better word, rot. We end up costing the NHS a hell of a lot more. Then you've got wheelchair services that cost a lot of money. You've got people that get admitted into hospital with severe problems. That costs a lot of money. Whereas if we could stay active and stay moving, that would go a long way to keeping our health where it should be. It just, that's what I think needs to happen. We just need to be offered the same opportunity as everybody.
I agree wholeheartedly with that. Brilliant. So, is there anything else that you want to tell the world while we're on? Is there anything got anything like that?
I don't think. No, I think it's just. I just wanted to draw attention to the fact that there are people. We are trying to do something to make it better for all of us. I think not everybody wants to forget about the little people, the people that are struggling, or the people that are finding it harder. There are those of us that want to make it better, that want to help. And if I can't do it this way, I'll find another way.
I love it. Absolutely. There's more than one way to skin a cat, I think they say. Not only skinning cats on this channel or anything like that, but so I just want to sort of thank you for coming on this channel. I really appreciate your time, and I really appreciate the passion you've got for doing something for people with progressive MS. I know, as I said at the start, it's close to my heart as well. I try to raise as much awareness as I can on this channel. It's not just some bloke talking on a camera. I do hope I'm changing just one person's life will be good from my point of view. So that's the reason I'm doing this. So I'll obviously put all the links to your petition and your social media and things like that in the description, so people can just click on it and just go straight to the relevant site as well, so we can get you a bit of support there. So good luck with everything.
That'd be great. Thank you very much.
No problem at all. And if you fancy subscribing, everybody watching, give us a like and subscribe. Share this video as far as we can, because we really need this petition to gain some momentum and really help the people of the UK, and potentially the world. Who knows? What the internet's like. So thanks very much, Lisa, and I'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.